Okay, so we are continuing the teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. We're learning the Holy Sefer Sichot Haran, and we're up to paragraph 27. And this is a very, very practical teaching. It's about how to grow. It's about how to grow in a healthy way, and how to grow in an unhealthy way, and how to avoid specifically growing in an unhealthy way. And so Rabbi Nachman starts like this. And like the beginning, I think is really sort of the intro to what he's trying to say, but I think it's a very important part, a very important point in and of itself. Rabbi Nachman writes, a person has to be extremely full of energy with serving Hashem. Person has to make sure that you do a lot. Person has to make sure that he's on top of himself. Every hour, what am I doing? Every day, what am I doing? You have to make sure that you do a lot. You have to fill your day with things to put into your resume. Ki ikar hu ha'asiyah, because the essence is to do. Lilmod harbe, to learn a lot. V'lasot mitzvot harbe, and to do a lot of mitzvahs. Litpalel, litchanen harbe, lishpoch libo lefanav yitparach v'kiyetz b'zeh she'inyan avodas Hashem. That a person needs to learn a lot, and the person needs to daven a lot, and to pour out your heart, and everything. As a person has to serve Hashem, has to serve Hashem properly. So, now he says that there's a danger. There's a danger in this mentality of wanting to do a lot. But I wanted to take a moment to try to understand what he's saying over here. Rabbi Nachman says that ikar hu asiyah, that the most important thing in life, the most important thing in Judaism is to do. And there's something that we did speak about this, a couple of weeks ago, that with the class about just do it, about how some people it's all about planning, and something that he's spoken about before. And when Nachman says the ikar hu asiyah, so he means a couple of things. That number one, like what we mentioned the other time, that some people they think that they're getting somewhere and they're actually not getting anywhere. Like they have they're good at planning, but they're not good at actually executing the plans that they have. Okay, they're good at they have like very good ideas, and they're at the beginning of every year they're full of like what I would love to do, and everyone looks at their plans, looks at their vision board, and they're so impressed, and but they're just not good at actually getting it done. That's for sure. That's for sure one thing. There's another thing about doing it, about being actual, being asiyah oriented, being very practical oriented, and that is that it's not just about learning, it's about doing. That sometimes a person could the word of academia is all about learning, and they put learning on a pedestal, and a person could say that yes, I just want to delve into the knowledge of understanding something, and when Rabbi Nachman says the ikar hu asiyah, that the essence is the doing, so he means that always ask yourself, okay, and so what? What's the practical implications of what you're learning? If you're just learning something just for the sake of just to know it, this is absolutely somewhat of a critique on a lot of liberal arts, and just try to figure out. I mentioned somebody the other day that my Rebbe would make fun of, when he was making fun of the world of academia, so he would make fun of specifically his sister-in-law, that she got a doctorate, and the topic of her doctorate was that about in English literature, that her topic of her doctorate was that Shakespeare wasn't actually written by Shakespeare. It was actually written by somebody else whose name was also William Shakespeare. Okay? and that's how she got her. So anybody normal will ask, and so what? How does that? What do I care? Okay, so whenever I was talking about Shakespeare, I was talking about the other guy. But who cares if he lived on 33rd Street or lived on 35th Street? That doesn't. Anyway, so there's a in the whole world of the breath. There's a whole question. Okay, and so what? And whenever you learn something, there should be a so what, and so that's number two. That people can be very into learning, and learning is actually not going to get them anywhere. And this is certainly a critique, not necessarily a critique. There's certainly something to that everybody who's learning in yeshiva should be asking themselves. That a person could devote many years to learning Torah, and it doesn't actually get them anywhere. And I was telling my daughter the other day about somebody that I know that he's really really into learning, and he's I see him waiting at the bus stop, and he's learning because he doesn't want to waste a minute. And meanwhile, he's just the most insensitive, inhumane person that I could imagine. It's just it doesn't change him. It doesn't make him into a better person. Mm-hmm. So the whole all of your learning, I could say, okay, and so what that you learned? How does this make the world into a better place? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's something messed up with your learning. So number one is when Rabbi Nachman says the Ha'ikra Hu Asiyah. So the point number one is that it's the doing, it's not the planning. Number two, it's the doing, it's not the learning. The learning is supposed to get you somewhere. Okay? And number three, this one I want to say with trepidation, that it's about doing, it's not about being. There's something we've talked about many times, that the difference between the energy of the 6 days of the week and the energy of Shabbos, that the 6 days of the week is about doing, and Shabbos is about being. And so the being is the world of meditation, it's the world of experiencing, it's the world of feeling connected, it's the world of Dveikut. And that's awesome. Dveikut is awesome. And this is Rabbi Nachman's critique on the people who are too into Dveikut. People that are just wow, I'm just so connected, and they're the point of their life, and they're just smoking weed all day and just feeling very connected, and they're just meditating and feeling very connected, and then they're saying yes, I am there because I am so connected. And the purpose of everything is to feel connected, and I'm just so connected. And ask, but what are you doing all day? I'm just being connected. That's what I'm doing. And so Rabbi Nachman says, hello, that's not what this world is for. Now, so I tell these people, you're not supposed to just put people down. So you should say, you're so right. You're so right. That's exactly what you're supposed to do when you're dead. Because really, the world to come is all about being connected. The world to come is all about being. The world to come is all about existing, and that's why Shabbat is about the world of being, because Shabbat is a taste of the world to come. But really, this world is not about being. This world is about do something. It's about accomplishing. There's so much to do. There's so many tears to dry. There's so many hungry people to feed. There's so much sorrow in the world that we need to take care of. There's so much injustice in the world that we need to take care of. There's so much to do. You can't just sit back and say, yeah, I'm connecting, I'm there, and it's really not about that. That's the end goal. This is what Chazal say, that it says in the Torah, the Asher Mitzavcha Hashem Elokim Hayom La'asotam. Hayom La'asotam. And so Chazal say, what does it mean Hayom La'asotam? It means that Olam Hazeh is La'asotam, V'Olam Haba L'Kabel Scharam. That this world is about doing, next world is about receiving reward, is about receiving connection. That we're here to do it. Hayom La'asotam. So there's a misconception that a person can think that the purpose of Judaism is to feel connected, and it's not so accurate. Really, that the purpose of dying as a Jew is to feel connected. It's nice to feel connected, but it's actually not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is actually actions. Okay, and this is something that I'm positive that Rabbi Nachman is saying. It's part of what he's saying, the Ha'ikra Hu Asiyah. But at the same time, so we have to take it with a grain of salt, because being is actually, and non-physical things, non-practical things are certainly important in Judaism. Okay, meaning that let's explain this with a question. What is the value? What is the value of being practical? What is actually the value of being ha'ikra hu asiyah as opposed to unpractical things? So a couple of things. First of all, it's practical things are measurable. Okay, it's meaning that if what's it mean that if I say I want, what are my goals if I say what are my goals for the coming year, if I say that my goals are that I want to become a better person. Okay, so that's a very unpractical. It's a very impractical goal. Okay, if I want to say my goal for this year is I want to come closer to Hashem, that's a very impractical goal. Okay, if I want to say that my goal for this year is that I want to be more real. That if you want to have a real goal, so you should have some way to measure it. Okay, you can have some way to say that this is like either I fulfilled my goal, either I accomplished my goal, or I didn't accomplish my goal. Okay, if your goal is something which is very in the air, which is very abstract. Thank you. So then you'll never really know if you're getting anywhere. Okay. So now that's absolutely true. This is absolutely an important tool in making goals, and an important goal in where to put your focus. But I think at the same time we all understand that everything we said before, all our bad examples of goals, they're so real. Of course, becoming a better person is an important goal. Of course, coming close to Hashem is an important goal. Of course, becoming more real is an important goal. So, in fact, I would go so far as to say is that if your only goal is to get up 20 minutes earlier and to say one more paragraph of davening and to give a little bit more tzedakah, then like you didn't really accomplish anything. Like that's not so exciting. What you accomplished, like those little things that you did, that's actually not so great. Like really, the real important things in life is actually becoming a better person. It's actually becoming a more real person. It's actually becoming closer to like those are actually that's actually where it's at. So how can we say that the most important thing is the real, is the practical? So what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that a person needs to make sure that his goals are also practical. That a person can get caught up in an alternative reality. A person can get caught up in his head, in his thoughts, and just like tell himself that I'm trying to come close to Hashem. And I think what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that the tool to the abstract is through the concrete. That a person is just going to only have abstract goals and say that I'm just going to try today, my goal is to become a better person. So like there is no way to access that part of me which is in charge of becoming a better person. The way to access that part of my psyche, that part of my soul, that's how good a person I am, is dafka through actions, is through practical things. So the more that I do, and I like to say that love is a verb, that the more that I do good things, the more I become a good person. The more that I do things that connect me with Hashem, the more connected to Hashem again I become. So I think Rabbi Nachman doesn't mean to say that the only thing is the abstract things. The only thing is the practical things. The abstract things aren't an important part of life. Of course, the abstract things are actually the most important part of life. Hashem himself is abstract. But I think what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that the goal to the real things, to the abstract things, is specifically through the concrete, through the practical. Okay, so this is what he's saying, but on that note, I want to explain that there's another reason why the ikar hu asiyah. There's another reason why the most important thing is actually the practical things, and that is that really that's something that Rabbi Nachman, that the Lubavitcher Rebbe would talk about a lot, and that is that the entire purpose of creation is actually to have a physical manifestation of Hashem in this world. Okay, meaning that the whole reason why Hashem made us as physical beings, so Hashem had a lot of angels already. He doesn't need us to be angels. And if the entire purpose of a physical reality is just to be spiritual, so then he wouldn't need to make a physical reality. Okay. And now some people actually they misunderstand this. Some people actually believe that the purpose of why Hashem made a physical reality is actually to deny it. Is actually to pretend it doesn't exist. Is actually to negate it and to become spiritual, despite the fact that I'm a physical reality. But all of our mainstream Kabbalistic sources say that no, that actually in the physical, that's where the spiritual is supposed to manifest itself, and really that the whole reason why Hashem created the physical world is specifically because He wants us to bring His will into the physical. Okay? And so that's why if a person's spirituality is summed up in their meditation, is summed up in only their prayers, and the person isn't able to do practical things. The person isn't able to actually go somewhere, to do something with his spirituality. And now, when Rabbi Nachman talks about physical expressions of spirituality, he says spiritual things also. He says davening. He says doing mitzvahs. He says learning. Like learning is also a physical thing. In fact, because I'm changing my physical schedule. If a person is going to say, I can't deal with the fact that I haven't picked up a holy book in the past 5 years, and I would I remember I used to learn in yeshiva. I used to learn 5 hours a day, 7 hours a day. When I was in yeshiva, I used to learn 14 hours a day, and I can't deal with the fact that I can't do this anymore. I have to start. I have to get back into it. I'm going to learn 5 minutes a day, and that's it. And nothing's going to stop me. So that's awesome, because it's a physical act to be able to, especially with ADHD, to be able to take time in your day and actually open up a book, a sefer, and to actually be focused for that's a physical action. That's a physical experience, right? So Rabbi Nachman is saying that you can't just remain theoretical. You have to, it takes physical resilience to be able to learn Torah. And so that learning Torah can also be a physical change. When Rabbi Nachman says Ha'ikra hu asiyah, so it's also in the physical act of learning. It's the physical act of davening. It's the physical act of going to shul. It doesn't just mean mundane things, but it's like, how have you changed? How is your day changed? How has your schedule changed? How has your physical reality, your practical, if I would take a video of you, how has your actual reality changed? So that's what it means Ha'ikra hu asiyah. Okay, so this is why the second reason why the Ha'ikra hu asiyah, besides the fact that it's something which is measurable, so you're not just be fooling yourself. So there's another reason why Ha'ikra hu asiyah, and that is because that's actually the Tachlis Habriya. Because actually the whole reason why Hashem created physical reality is specifically because He wants us to, in a physical world, to bring His will into a physical reality. Okay, so with that introduction, so Rabbi Nachman says that, so being that Ha'ikra hu asiyah, being that the person needs to know that the most important thing is the doing. So af al pi kein, al tihi nivhal. But a person, because Ha'ikra hu asiyah, so because the most important thing is the doing, so a person could get frustrated and get overwhelmed. Because you see, there's so much to do. There's so much to do. If it's just about being, so then I can just pretend that I'm there. I can just smoke some weed and kumbaya. But if it's about doing, so there's so much to do. There's so. If I'm supposed to do everything, so there's a story that they tell in yeshivas about the Vilna Gaon that he wants Erev Yom Kippur, so he was crying about the fact that he made an accounting of his whole year, and there was 3 minutes that he couldn't figure out what he was doing with his 3 minutes, and he was crying with tears about the fact that he couldn't figure out how he wasted 3 minutes of his life. And so it's a person can get very overwhelmed when you think about we're here to do. Come on, the clock is ticking, and you can get very overwhelmed, and you can say whoa, there's so much to do. I want to live a perfect life. I want to live a proper life. I want to live the life that Hashem wants me to live. I was giving a class in a seminary about tefillah. So we're talking about, we're just going through the siddur, going through what's the makeup of the siddur. So one section of the class is, what's with all that stuff before Pesukah Zimmer? Something like that. I was always wondering as a kid, I don't know, in school they tell you to start over here, you do Birkat HaShachar, and then you skip 50 pages and go to Pesukah Zimmer, what's up with that? So the truth is that if you read the Shulchan Aruch, if you read, so he'll say, it's a tov ma'od to say the Akedah, tov ma'od to say the Parshas Haman, and tov ma'od to say this parsha, 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 and I promise you, there was when I was very young, there was I don't remember how long, it was probably 2 weeks or so. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I was like literally it took me like chakras probably took me like an hour and a half, and it's like a person can get very overwhelmed, and a person can totally if you're going to do everything that it says you're supposed to do, so then you can totally get overwhelmed. Okay, and so this is the danger of once you know that the most important thing is the doing, so you can get overwhelmed because there's so much to do. There is so much to do, and of course you want to be the best, right? So you know, like, it also like depends like what's the tone of voice that your rabbi told you, like, you know, really it's okay to do this, but like that's for the, I don't know, if you're a real ben Torah wouldn't do that actually. A real ben Torah would. I know this, whatever. That's a lashon hara. So a person can totally get overwhelmed because, like, you see in Sfarim how much you're supposed to do, and you know there's you're supposed to have kavanah with every single word, and you're supposed to know what every single word means. So you know that takes another 2 hours a day if you want to know what every single word in davening means. And if you're gonna, and of course you should. It's tov ma'od to go to the kibbutz tzaddikim. So you should go to like every, and it's tov ma'od to visit kibbutz tzaddikim erev Rosh Chodesh. So like every Rosh Chodesh, to go to first I'll start Hamenuchas, and then I'll go to Mezbosh, and then go to and then I'll go to the Oel, and so like a person, like, there's so much to do. You know, there's so much to do. At that point. Yeah. So you read Sfarim, and the Sfarim are telling you how much there is to do, and also, like, especially if you go into like a Kabbalistic Sfarim, then you can say, you know, it's a very good thing that you shouldn't shouldn't go 4 amos without washing Netilas Yadayim, and also it's not good to go 4 amos without wearing tefillin. It's also not good to go 4 amos without thinking in Torah. It's also not good. And like you,
4 amos wash Netilat Yadayim every 4 amos.
No, not every 4 amos. No, at the beginning, in the morning. We're leaning into your apartment is called 4 amos, so it's okay. So if you're going to read every chumrah that it says in all the books, you're going to totally flip out. You're going to totally have to either admit yourself to a psych word or be admitted by your roommates to a psych word. You know, it's really not sustainable. So this is the problem that Rabbi Nachman is addressing over here. That once we know that the most important thing is to do. So if you're going to do everything that you need to do, then you're going to go crazy. So he says, Al tehei nivhal mipnei zeh leimor matai uchol lekayim achas mehenam kol inyanim ha'elu. He said, never tell yourself, how can I ever accomplish these things? Even one of these things. How could I ever accomplish even one of these things? Like, I don't know what he's referring to. Even one of these things. Let's say he's referring to maybe there's a chumrah to say the entire Shnai Mikra v'Echad Targum without any interruption. I read a story about some Rebbe, some holy tzaddik, that he had this custom to only do Shnai Mikra without any interruptions, and once, and it's actually a nice story, but just like it's intense. Like the once, like he was the very last pasuk. It was the very last pasuk of finishing Shnai Mikra, and of course he did with Rashi also. So it took him like Ramash a long time, and it was the very last pasuk. And his father asked him for something, and so he had this deliberation: should I make my father wait 1 second, or should I and then just finish, or should I be diligent in helping my father with what he needs? And he was strong, and he didn't. I don't know. If I was the father, I wouldn't have wanted him to do this. But the story goes that he interrupted and he helped his father, and then he started from the beginning. And so it's a nice story. But a person could hear that story and said, yeah, from now on, I'm going to do Shnai Mikra without any interruption. Like, you see, there's heavy duty chumras out there that a person could could I don't know never. Oh, this is the best one to not look at the face of a Russia. The person could how could this there's a story with the Chazon Ish when the Chazon Ish met with Ben Gurion. So about he was talking about drafting yeshiva boys. So the story goes that in the middle of the conversation, in the middle of the meeting, so the Chazon Ish took off his glasses. In the middle of the meeting, he took off his glasses, and so after he left, so the students asked him, Rebbe, why in the middle of the meeting, if you want, they understood that he didn't want to. The reason he took off his glasses is because it says in the Gemara you're not supposed to look at the face of a wicked person. So, but how come in the middle? So the Chazon Ish says, well, I knew he was bad, but I didn't know he was that bad. So anyway, so a person could learn that there's crazy chumras and say, whoa, that's so beyond me. How can I ever accomplish that? And he's going to be overwhelmed. So what does Rabbi Nachman say? Don't think that you need to do everything at once. Rak lelech benachat behadraga ma'at. You should do benachas. What does benachas mean? Peacefully. Okay, at ease. Okay, behadraga, piecemeal, piece by piece. Ma'at, little by little. Okay, so v'lo yamavol mavobel shirotza kaim lachtav hakol bevat achat u'machmat zeh nisbab legamri. And a person shouldn't think that I need to do everything at once, because when you think you have to do everything at once, then you could just become completely mixed up, and you won't know what to do at all. He brings a metaphor. If there's a fire, so because you're so overwhelmed, so you can't think properly, and you make improper decisions, and you take things that you don't really need, and you forget about the things that you actually need, and just because of you're so overwhelmed, just because of the stress. So because you're so stressed that I need to take everything, so you make the wrong decisions. Okay, so a person could, because he stresses himself, could think I need to do everything once, and so because you do everything once, so you make all the wrong decisions, and you take either you mess up with the real things, the more important things, or you don't even do anything. Okay, so this is the first message of Rabbi Nachman, is that a person has to make sure that he doesn't think that he needs to take everything, because if you think you need to take everything, then it could mess you up, that you're not going to make the right decisions. Okay, so now I think that part of what Rabbi Nachman is trying to say over here is that a person needs to get into his head that Judaism is not all or nothing, and Rabbi Nachman would famously say that a bissel is echt good, that a little is also good, that you don't think that you need to do a lot, don't think that everything needs to be perfect, that a little is amazing. Doing a little is amazing, and a person never should tell himself that it's only worth something if it's a lot. It's only worth something if I'm doing everything. The Judaism is absolutely not all or nothing, and every tiny bit that you do is precious. I remember I had a student that was asking me once that she didn't keep kosher, and she was with her non-religious friend, and they were eating shrimp, or they were eating pork or something, and she said I don't eat pork, and the guy that she was eating with, so he was also brought up religious, and he went to yeshiva when he was younger, and he told her that there's no difference, it's just as bad nevera to eat not kosher meat, to eat non-kosher hamburger, as it is to eat pork. It says it says in the Torah not to eat pork. It says in the Torah not to eat a non-kosher hamburger. It's the same. You're such a bluff. You're such a either do it or don't do it. Don't play games. Mm-hmm. And so she asked me it really stung her. Really stung her that he told her this, and I told her that what he is saying is absolutely the Yetzer Hara, that you need to know that every tiny act that you do for Hashem is precious. that tiny act that even though you don't keep kosher, but you're not going to eat shrimp. That even though you don't keep kosher, but you're not going to eat pork. That moment that you're telling Hashem, this is the one thing I do for you. So that is precious. Like how could you even think for a moment that it's all or nothing? That like either I'm keep kosher or not. That's what Rabbi Nachman is saying. That a bit is good. A little bit is also good. Like Judaism is absolutely not all or nothing. I can't keep the whole Shabbos, so I shouldn't even keep the beginning of Shabbos. Like whatever you can do is precious. Okay, so a person could think that it's all or nothing, and because it's all or nothing, so I'm not going to take the little bit that I could do, and that's certainly part of what Rabbi Nachman is saying is ma'at, to do little by little. So the first thing that he's saying is that Judaism is not all or nothing. Now there's this mental state that a person reaches that they have problem choosing, and this is a personality type that if anybody is familiar with Briggs-Myers, so this is the last section of Briggs-Myers is J versus P. Okay, it says judging versus perceiving, and so judging is the kind of personality type that it's good at making decisions. It always knows what I want. And perceiving is the person that always likes options. I like to get the whole picture. Okay, and so a person who's more of a J personality, so they're more decisive, and they're more able to make a decision. And a person who's more of a P personality, so they're it's harder for them to commit, because the person with the perceiving personality, he likes to see all the options. And for example, when it comes to relationships, so statistically, men are more P, and women are more J, and that's why men have more commitment issues. It's much more common for the girl to be waiting for the guy to propose, because guys they're more into potential. They're more into they don't want to settle down with somebody, because if you don't settle down, then you have amazing options, even though the options aren't real. They're only options. And the girl, she's like statistically, they're more into I want something real. I want one thing, even though saying yes to this means saying no to everybody else, but at least it's real. Okay, so when it comes to a person sees everything there is to do in Judaism. Says, I want everything, but I can't do everything. So how do I choose? And so a person can have this problem that I don't know what to choose. I don't know what's right. I want everything, but I can't do everything. So I'm going to end up with nothing. There's this joke, I guess, about this camel that they was very thirsty, and there was two wells equidistant from each other, and he couldn't decide which one to go to. So he just dies of thirst because he couldn't decide. Because it couldn't. Am I saying it wrong? It's like, anyway, so
I know those camels.
So yeah. So I thought I was saying that the camel thought those are the boys. So this is a problem in a person that wants to move forward, never does Hashem. So a person has to make sure that he knows that a bit is good. A person needs to know that a little bit is good, and this requires making decisions, and this requires being honest with yourself. This requires that I'm able to embrace the fact that I'm not perfect, right? And I'm able to embrace the fact that I'm not doing everything, and that's okay, and I can accept that this is where I am right now, and that's okay. Okay, and to understand that just because I can't do everything, so I can make decisions. I can say, okay, I'm going to do this, even though I'm not going to do that, even though it doesn't make sense and it's hard for me to choose, and it doesn't. And who said that makes any sense? But it doesn't matter. I'll just take this, and then I have something, and then I have something practical. Okay, so that's number one. Now, when he says that's what it means, ma'at. They do it a little bit at a time. The person needs to understand that a ma'at is also good. And I think there's another message over here. And then he says benachat. What does it mean, benachat? Benachat means that the person has to do it peacefully. person has to do it in a pleasant way. Now, what does that mean? That sometimes in a person's desire to do everything once, so he skips to a level that doesn't make sense for him, and because of that, so he burns out and just gives up on everything. Okay? And this is a very common mistake in the world of Batshuvas, that they take on too much too fast, and it eventually grows to a resentment, and eventually grows to like, what am I doing? I don't feel this isn't me. I was just doing what people were pressuring me. My rabbis were pressuring me. So this is another issue that I think the people that are growing, the Rabbi Nachman is telling them that not to think that I need to do everything once, because if you do everything at once, it can't be benachat. Okay, that's the opposite. That's the opposite of benachat. Benachat can't be that I'm completely doing the opposite of what I was doing for the past 20 years. That can't be benachat. So what's the secret of doing things benachat? What's the healthy way? What's the healthy way to grow? What's the healthy way to change? So the secret is to make sure that you're always being true to yourself. And this is really the secret to a healthy growth, is that how do I feel about what I'm doing? Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel like I'm uncomfortable? Meaning that the person who wants to grow, so that means that they feel uncomfortable not doing something, right? So when I make a decision, I want to do something, so then that should make me feel comfortable, not uncomfortable, right? So now, let's say, so I made the decision that I want to start keeping kosher, and because I make the decision that I want to keep kosher, so I made the decision yesterday, right? And I didn't even tell my parents yet. So my parents, who don't keep kosher, so they call me for supper, and I say, sorry, I can't eat supper. What's wrong? Something. Like, no, really, why can't you eat? So he says, because it's not kosher. So she says, but what do you mean? What's kosher? Or she said, but it is kosher. She says, no, it's not kosher enough. And the next day I was like, okay, I bought you all the most kosher. I asked my neighbor who had to buy kosher foods, and here he said, no, it's still not kosher enough because your pots aren't kosher. And then he says, okay, now we got new pots. He said, no, it's still not kosher enough because your plates aren't kosher. And this is, and he realizes, like, this is, like, am I ready for this? Maybe I'm taking on too much too soon. And so a person, if he would ask himself, like, does this feel right? So, like, does it make sense that, like, yesterday I wasn't doing anything, and now I'm offending my mother, and now now I can't eat anything, and especially like if let's say I'm in a place that doesn't have any kosher things. So I decided I want to keep kosher, and on a practical level, that means that for the next 6 months, the only things I'm going to be eating is produce. There's no kosher bread. There's no kosher anything. I can't. I'll just have fruits and vegetables. That's the only thing that I'll eat. And like that's like because it's not bedat, I don't eat OU because and so like a person could totally be doing something in an unhealthy way. And like if he's normal, so when he's like eating produce for the next 6 months, if he would be real to himself, he would ask himself, like, does this make sense to me? Do I really feel that this is what Hashem wants from me? Now that actually there is a high level of spirituality that a person could come to that level. I read about Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Zichron Livracha, that he, when he was in America, he was super, super careful about kashrut, to the point that when he was traveling outside of Israel, he would only eat produce. That's where I got that idea from this story, and he was totally fine with that, and he was totally fine for a week, a year, that he would only eat fruits and vegetables. It's not to be taken for granted. Like it's not easy for your diet to only eat fruits and vegetables. Not only that, but he wouldn't even because he didn't want to offend people. That if they weren't like they were scared that it's like a non-Jewish maid would cook something, so and Sfardim are especially stringent about that. So he wouldn't eat anything cooked. He wouldn't eat anything cooked. He was literally only eating raw fruits and vegetables for this entire trip to America. And so I promise you, he felt great about it. I promise you, he didn't feel like he was missing out. If he would have eaten something else that he would have felt so gross that from a real way that it would have been just less pleasant for him. It would have been felt unhealthy for him to be doing anything else. So after you're serving Hashem for 18 hours a day for 70, 80 years of your life, then you reach a certain level of spirituality that doing crazy chumras feels healthy, feels normal, and you don't feel like a loser. You don't feel like, what exactly am I doing? Why did I sign up for this? But to do it straight out, that's not benachas. That's not that you. If you're you, it can't be that you feel healthy doing this. Want to say something?
Question.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile if it feels like you're learning and your observancy level are at two different paces? Where I'm learning a lot. Clearly, I'm learning a lot of these hukim that I know I'm not ready to keep yet. But I it's almost like there's two truths that live within. It's okay, I know this huk is correct, and one day I want to be at that level. But I'm personally not at that level right now. I
think that's precisely what Rabbi Nachman is saying.
That's okay.
That a person could be learning so much that he feels overwhelmed. That he feels that, oh my gosh, this is too much. I should just drop it because it's too much. Because how can I pick? And if I'm going to do all that, I'm going to just become a freak. So I better just escape while I still can. And that's exactly why Rabbi Nachman is saying that la'at. That just take step by step. First take it like this, and first say that you're just gonna not eat not kosher meat, and then go on to eat not kosher, not eat not kosher milk, and then go on to not eat not kosher parv, and to take step by step, and then you go on to not eating not kosher pats, and to take it in a way that to take that you're used to the step before you move on, and that you won't feel that anything is so crazy. You won't think that anything is so off over the top. So it's important that with davening, if a person's going to say, look, it says in Shulchan Aruch, I have to daven the whole davening, so I'm going to I daven very slow. So, but it's better to daven with Hebrew and daven to that with the kavanah, and so okay, what can I do? I have to daven for 2.5 hours every morning, and that's going to last for about a week, and then you're going to go to either you're going to give up, or you're going to go to a sick word. Now there's two dangers. There's a danger of becoming overwhelmed and saying that this isn't for me, and there's also the danger of burnout. Okay, and that's what I was saying. That's what I was referring to. With the sick word, it doesn't have to be a sick word. That it could just be that you're bedridden. There's lots and lots of stories of people that they get some kind of in shivas they call it mano.
What are they?
Mano.
Oh.
And the mano was like some kind of blood disease.
They call it outside yeshivas.
No, I'm saying it's what they call it mano, as if it's really about your blood. And sometimes people actually get mano. Mano is a real thing, but a person could just.
Someone actually has mono. They're like, yeah. Get back to the.
but a person could just not be able to function, and because they got so and a person could just be so overwhelmed by learning that it just triggers them, and I can't do it anymore. It's just driving me crazy, and so that's the danger. That's the danger of burnout. There's the danger of a person that pushes themselves too hard, without vacations, without breaks, without being in touch with themselves, and that they just can't do it anymore, and they just absolutely go crazy, and so that's why Rabbi Nachman says that when you're growing in Judaism, it needs to be benachat. Okay, benachat means it needs to be in a peaceful way, it needs to be in a pleasant way, and I'm translating that to mean that when you're always asking yourself, does this feel healthy? Does this feel right? Do I feel does this now? If you if you feel a dissonance, if I want to do more, then I feel comfortable not doing it. So that if I feel uncomfortable not doing it, so then I should do it. And then I do. But he says you do it la'at, do it a little by little, in order that it's not going to be overwhelming, and to make sure that every step this feels right. There's a rule that if you need to use too much force, then it's not the right key. Okay? Torah is supposed to be sweet. Torah is supposed to be pleasant, and if what you're doing doesn't feel pleasant, so then it very probably might not be Torah. And you need to make sure that the way you're growing is in a way that you feel the pleasantness of Torah, the pleasantness of any particular religious thing that you're doing. Okay, so now it continues that sometimes it gets even worse. And what do? After you just learned about you have to do. And so sometimes you come and you say, I just can't do it. Rabbi, I just can't. I promise you, I wish I could, but I can't. So what do you do if you just can't? Ones Rahman Patre. So then you need to know that if you can't do it, Hashem forgives you. But what do? You're not exempt. When you can't do, so you need to tell yourself that Hashem forgives me. Hashem understands that I can't do anything, but there's something that you're not exempt from, and that is to wish that you could do. Because the desire to do, that itself is something precious. That itself is something very, very great before Hashem. And Hashem wants your heart. And so the fact that Hashem wants your heart, that means that sometimes that the feeling of miss when you can't serve Hashem might even be greater than the closeness that you accomplish when you're actually doing it. Okay, that the desire to be close to Hashem, the desire to be living a better way, the desire to keep Torah, so that desire itself is something very holy, and you're never exempt from that. So a person could sometimes reach a situation that when it comes to lassos, when it comes to doing, I can't. I just can't. But I'm never exempt from wishing that I could. So Rabbi Nassim writes that Rabbi Nachman talked about this a lot. Like Rabbi Nachman, when Rabbi Nachman would talk about desire, when Rabbi Nachman would talk about yearning, so he would explain this just so beautifully, but it's things that I can't write down. He says, if you really want to understand, he says that you will be able to understand, and that there's a wisdom of how to desire and how to really be yearning for kedusha, to yearn for holiness and yearning for closeness to Hashem. So this is the Rabbi Nachman's lesson of for tonight. That first of all, the most important thing is to do. The person can never suffice with just planning or just being, with just learning, or just that Judaism is a practical religion. It's about actually changing our lives. It's about changing our habits. It's about moving forward in a practical way. But because it's so measurable, because practical growth is so measurable, so when I'm judging myself and measuring myself, have I grown? So then I can overwhelm myself and say, well, I need to get to this, and that's too much. So together with the understanding that my growth needs to be practical, I need to understand that a little is also good. A little is also good. I can never get overwhelmed. I can never say it's all or nothing. And this growth, it needs to be, number one, it needs to be gradual, and number two, it needs to be pleasant. It needs to be healthy, because if I'm not doing something which is real to me, then it's going to backfire. Because that means that constantly with my external growth, I need to make sure that I'm having an inner growth. I need to become a person that actually feels that this is what I want. This is actually an expression of the true me, and that's really like what we said before. That Rabbi Nachman is saying that the practical growth is the gate to my inner growth. And I need to be aware of the fact that the purpose of the outer growth is actually to make an inner growth, and that's how it's going to progress. Okay, so a person should always be aware of the fact that the purpose of my my external things is to actually develop an appreciation of this becoming a different person. Becoming like, if a person is gonna like tell himself, I'm not going to speak Lashon Hara, but they're never going to become a person that actually is sensitive to Lashon Hara. A person is going to always desire to speak Lashon Hara, but never do it. Then he's going to go crazy, because he's going to live with this constant dissonance with what I want and what I'm doing and my mind tells me to do. And it's the same thing with anything. A person is going to grow. A person is going to read in the book that I need to keep Shabbos, but never develop in the place in his heart that I love Shabbos, that I connect with Shabbos. Then his entire life is going to be hell. The Shabbos is going to like he's in jail. A person is going to want to grow in being more holy in the places that he looks, but he never develops an appreciation of what it's like to be a holy person, and it's going to constantly be an uphill battle. It's going to constantly be like I'm always holding myself back from living the kind of life I want to live, and he's always going to feel like a loser. So that's why growth always needs to be little, in a way that it's not going to breed resentment, and it also needs to be healthy. It needs to be with an awareness that I also want to change on the inside to actually become something bigger and better. B'ezrat Hashem. L'chaim, l'chaim.